Hello and welcome to Gladys Cake Kitchen. My name is Gladys, baker and cake artist, and over here I make simple, informative tutorials to help you navigate cake decorating easily. Today we're making one of my preferred buttercreams to make, which is French buttercream with a slight twist. French buttercream is traditionally made with egg yolks. It is rich, smooth, absorbs great flavor, has a great mouthfeel, and it's versatile and easy to make. So we'll be making that. However, I'll be making it using whole eggs. The reason being, the whole eggs version gives you a lighter, smooth finish without any changes at all. If you use egg yolks alone, you're going to have a very yellowish looking buttercream. Whilst that is not exactly a problem, I find I prefer the whole eggs version. But essentially, depending on what I need the buttercream for, I am able to adapt it using either whole eggs exclusively or egg yolks, or perhaps a mix of both. So today we'll be talking through all of this for you to get the best out of making French buttercream. I'll be handing you some pro tips and some tricks that will get you making this buttercream at home by yourself, especially if you're a beginner baker who has just started on this journey. So without wasting your time, I'm going to talk you through the ingredients. Exact measurements and quantities are going to be left in the description box. And I should actually say I have made this buttercream before, which is when I first started YouTube a little over 3 years ago somewhere. The editing wasn't great, but the information is equally valuable. So I'll be linking that in the description box for you to check out so that you can make the most out of it with the information that's available, just so you can make the best out of this buttercream. It is made with some whole eggs. So I have some broken eggs over here. I have some butter, there is sugar, and over here is this burner stove that I will be using. I have some water that I will bring to a simmering temperature, and over it I'm gonna have a heat-proof bowl into which the sugar goes, and I'm gonna add my whole eggs. Now I am going to have to whisk these together over the double boiler. The double boiler is essentially a means by which you bring something to a cooking temperature without using direct heat. So the water underneath the pan here is going to cook up what's in the bowl here, slowly bringing us to a temperature of 165 degrees where the eggs are safe to eat. Essentially, I'll be using a thermometer for measuring the temperature here, so that when we get to the right temperature, we can transfer this straight onto the mixer here to whip up, after which we can add our batter. I'll be talking you through the exact processes and what to look out for. In the meantime, the task is to get this sugar and whole eggs mixture to the appropriate temperature over here. Whilst I'm using a portable electric burner here, you can do this over your kitchen stove at home, and it's completely safe as long as you observe it closely. The intention is to bring the egg slowly to the appropriate temperature we require it for without cooking the eggs, and also keeping an eye on the heat underneath, just so that we don't boil the water vigorously. Now, when the eggs and sugar are mixed together over the warm heat, by the time it comes all together, it will have a frothy looking appearance to it, and that is fine. This takes up to about 8 to 12 minutes to get right, and having measured the temperature, I've got exactly what I need, and I'm going to transfer that into the mixer, and this is going to whisk up to about 15 minutes. What I go for 15 minutes just to stay safe and just to make sure that I've got the right consistency before I add the butter into it. So what I choose to do is split the 15 minutes into 5 minutes intervals, just so that the mixer is not going for a long time, which will thereby warm the motor on the mixer. So I'm going to tip this into the mixer, leave it to run for 15 minutes, stop it in between the 5 minutes mark, just so we can get it to where we need it to be. Remember, comparing this to the meringue-based buttercream, this is slightly easier to make because you're not looking for the meringue to whisk up, because we're not using egg white. But because the whole eggs still has the egg yolks contained in it, the fat is not going to allow this to whip up, but it will end up looking like a foamy, frothy looking consistency. The idea for whipping it is to change the consistency around and to make sure that it is cool before we add the batter into it. We'll be talking about butter, the temperature, and what it should look like before you add it, because the base of any buttercream is the butter. But without the right consistency of butter, you're likely to get everything wrong. While the egg and sugar syrup is whipping, let's talk some butter. I have some cubes of butter I left on the countertop to come to room temperature, and here we are. It is soft but slightly firm when I press into it too. The right consistency though has to still be soft, not melted, and spreadable. To achieve this quickly, I pop this butter in the microwave at 50% power at 20-second intervals for 40 seconds total. If you do this on full power, you probably need to do this for 10 to 15 seconds altogether, and try not to be distracted. When the butter is done from the microwave, we have this soft spreadable batter ready to be used for our buttercream. Occasionally, I have used this method to get my batter right when I've forgotten to bring out the butter from the fridge ready to be used for baking. After 15 minutes of whisking, this is the consistency we have over here. It is light, it is frothy, it is foamy, and there's a ribbon-like consistency to the stretch over here. And after talking through the butter and the consistency we need, we have the right butter here, which we will have to start putting into our foamy mixture here. Normally, it's advisable to add the butter in small chunks, but occasionally I have dumped it all in and nothing bad has happened. Our butter is now in the egg mixture and it's going to be beaten together. Our buttercream is done, and this is what we're looking for. That is some good buttercream here. The balance between the egg mixture and the butter is just right. So it's not super buttery and it's not eggy at all. With the vanilla and a bit of salt to cancel out the sugar, this buttercream is just right. For me, a few tips to get the best out of this buttercream is to add a touch of salt, and sometimes I've swapped the salt altogether for unsalted butter. The salt brings a kick to it, which makes this buttercream great tasting. Also, occasionally I have added about 80 grams of icing sugar to this, just so that it can all come together very nicely. But it all depends on my goal for the use of this buttercream. I should, however, add though, this buttercream is not the most stable compared to your Swiss and Italian buttercream. So this is good for filling into your cakes, piping onto cupcakes, and it does hold its shape very well and gives you a great piping detail. But other than that, put in the warmth, it does tend to collapse very quickly, so it can create a few slight problems. Another tip though is that this buttercream pairs very well with chocolate. For me, my chocolate buttercream is this type of buttercream with some melted ganache, as in dark chocolate ganache, into it, and bang, I have a great tasting chocolate buttercream that is smooth tasting, not overly sugary, and it's great for pairing with my chocolate cake. So that's our buttercream done today, and I hope you've been able to pick up some tips along the way that will help you get the best out of this buttercream. If you do like other forms of buttercream, leave a comment. But I've already made my Swiss meringue buttercream, brown sugar buttercream, and a few of my other buttercreams, including my not so favorite American buttercream, which I'll link down in the description box. Thanks for watching.